Welcome back to another Ret Paladin video. Verabin here. Today we're going to be doing an update to a guide that I posted a while back. It was about 6 weeks ago and is based on beta footage and some things like that. So there's definitely been a lot of changes since then. So I kind of want to walk through those changes with you guys, and because there are some that are pretty substantial that have changed in the last 6 weeks. There's been so much tuning that have gone on between talents and Soulbinds and conduits mainly, and legendaries have changed quite a bit since then as well. So I think that was a pretty good intro guide, but I think that as we're getting prepared to start Mythic Pluses in about 2 weeks, that I think we are going to need a little bit more updated information. So that's what this video is about. So let's take a look. Before we get started with the video, please be sure to hodge that like button and subscribe for more Ret Paladin content. I'm going to be doing all sorts of guides and gameplay videos and all that good stuff as we progress in Shadowlands, so you do not want to miss a thing. Be sure to hit that notification bell as well so you get notifications when new videos drop. So the biggest changes that have occurred in the last several weeks have been to Soulbinds and to conduits. So we're going to take a look at the Kyrian Soulbind. I do believe that Kyrian is still the best Mythic Plus covenant for Ret Paladins. Certainly all of the covenants have something kind of different to bring to the table, but I think Kyrian is going to edge them out just a little bit, and that's because of our good friend Pelagos. So the biggest thing that happened since the last video that I posted was that now you can only have 2 different potency conduits on any soulbind, and for those we're still going to use the Virtuous Command and we're going to use Templar's Vindication. Unfortunately, neither of these really has an impact on our AoE damage for in Mythic Plus, so that is unfortunate. We could potentially take Truth's Wake, but I think that it's not going to be as good overall because we're going to talk about talents, and those talents are going to kind of bolster your AoE damage a lot. And you're at that point, we're actually going to try to focus on getting more of the single target damage as well. So we're going to focus on these single target conduits. And this is the path that I'm going to suggest. Obviously, you're going to want to take the top and the bottom. Those are 2 biggest important ones. And then in between, it doesn't really matter a whole lot as long as you hit the 2 potency conduits. And I'm going to suggest that you use Golden Path for your endurance conduit. This actually heals for quite a bit. And even at the lower ranks, I think this was healing me for 100 or 120 damage. And that might not sound like a lot, but that's at the lower rank. At a higher rank, it's probably going to be doing more like 200 or 300 healing per second, so that's really not bad, and you're probably going to have consecration up quite a bit, so it's going to give you some pretty good passive healing. The other one that I'm going to suggest is Divine Call, and that's going to reduce the cooldown of Divine Shield a little bit. It's not really a huge improvement to Divine Shield, but any little bit counts, and I found myself a few times in Mythic Plus, or not Mythic Plus, sorry, just in a regular dungeon recently where, my bubble was almost off cooldown. I would have used it if I could. So having that off cooldown is going to be important. So that's going to help you a little bit. The next thing we're going to look at is talents, and I'm showing a talent build here that I think is going to be optimal for Mythic Plus. There's definitely going to be some variability depending on the types of fights, so there could be differences even just Mythic Plus to Mythic Plus, like different bosses and different amounts of trash and stuff like that. So it's hard to give you an exact kind of like, here's exactly the talents you need to pick every single time, but I think this one is going to be pretty good. So in the level 15 tier, I'm going to actually suggest Righteous Verdict. I think Execution Sentence just doesn't seem to hit all that hard at our current gear levels, and on single target, it just, it hits for me maybe 10,000 damage, but Templar's Verdict hits for 5,000 or 6,000. So there's all this setup that you have to do to get it to hit that hard, but then at the end of the day, it's not even really doing that much more than a Templar's Verdict. So I think over a long boss fight, I think Righteous Verdict is going to end up edging it out. And I'm also going to suggest use Empyrean Power in the level 25 tier because on trash, your Divine Storm is going to be really, really important. And depending on your legendary that you pick, if you're going to pick Tempest of the Lightbringer as your legendary, which I'm going to suggest that you do, then Empyrean Power is going to be all that much better, right? Because it's going to boost the number of Divine Storms that you can cast, and it's going to make them do more damage, which is in turn going to make your Tempest of the Lightbringer do more damage. So I'm going to suggest that one as well. And when you're doing that one, it's actually going to change your priority a little bit when you're doing your rotation. So you're going to definitely want to make sure you have Crusader Strike off cooldown so that you can get more of those Empyrean Power hits. The only other changes to this are that I do still think that Divine Purpose is probably it's going to be a good one for you. I've kind of flip-flopped on Divine Purpose a little bit, and I think on this level 40 tier you could probably do whatever you want, to be honest. I think Divine Purpose is more consistent and it helps quite a bit in single target and AoE, and you could say the same for Holy Avenger and Seraphim. So I think you can kind of make your own choice on that tier, whichever one you like. And then there's no other changes to, we're still going to use Healing Hands, we're going to use Final Reckoning. So there are a couple changes to Mythic Plus as far as enchanting and gearing and stuff like that. So one of the things to keep in mind is that there are now weapon oils that alchemists can create that'll add a little bit of damage. So you might want to make sure you have one of those, and then obviously you're going to do flasks and food and all that good stuff that you would normally do. Make sure your gear is enchanted and all that good stuff. But I think weapon oils are one that are going to be kind of a minor increase, but it's definitely one that you want to take a look at and have available because they're going to be pretty cheap to make. So another thing I wanted to touch on was rotation. So obviously if you've done dungeons in any capacity, you know that Divine Storm is the biggest damaging ability that you have in an AoE situation. So you're going to want to focus on making sure that you can get those Divine Storms out and get them out often, and make sure that you're kind of prioritizing getting those holy powers available to pop into Divine Storms. So that's going to be really, really important. And depending on the talent build that you make, if you use Empyrean Power, then you're going to want to obviously use Crusader Strike, and that's going to be really important to generate those Empyrean Power procs. And other than that, you're going to have your 1 minute kind of wombo combo between Final Reckoning and then Wake of Ashes, and you can combine that with your Kyrian Divine Toll, and that's going to give you some really good burst AoE damage. Both of those are going to generate a lot of holy power as well, so you'll be able to do a Final Reckoning, and then a Judgment, and then a Wake of Ashes, and then a Divine Storm, and then do another Divine Storm, and then do a Divine Toll, and then another Divine Storm. And at that point, the pack's probably going to be dead, and so you're going to be doing pretty good AoE damage with that kind of thing. And keep in mind, you're also maybe going to be taking Divine Purpose, and then you're potentially going to even be able to pump more Divine Storms in there. So that's kind of how it's going to look. Alright, so that's all for the video. I just wanted to do a quick update on Mythic Plus / Heroics for Shadowlands. I hope you guys are enjoying the expansion so far. Please be sure to hash that like button and subscribe for more Ret Paladin content. I'll see you guys in the next one.